Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Middle School Speaks. Today's controversial topic that we will be talking about is, should parents be responsible for their child's crimes? Before we get started, Josh, can you tell me some background information about our topic?
People that are under the age of 18 and are proven guilty from a crime are generally enrolled in the juvenile justice system. Juvenile justice in the United States is a collection of state and local court-based systems whose purpose is to respond to young people who come in contact with law enforcement and are accused of breaking the law. The juvenile justice system can face less punishments than adults that are doing the same crime. Some people under the age of 18 are tried as an adult because of a violent crime.
Thanks, Josh. Now let's introduce ourselves. I'm Natalie, and I'm going to be arguing that parents should not be responsible for their child's crimes.
I'm Alexi, and I'll also be arguing that parents should not be responsible for their child's crimes.
I'm Josh, and I believe that parents should be responsible for their crimes.
I'm Colin, and I'm on Josh's side where I think parents should be responsible for their children's crimes.
Okay, let's get started.
Okay, well, my first point is the parents might not know what their kids are doing. The kids can easily sneak things, anything, that they don't want their parents to know. The kids are acting normally around the parents, but doing these sneaky things at school or somewhere else. And these parents are being arrested while the kids are doing these things behind their backs. And if the parents didn't know what the kids are doing, then they shouldn't be a part of the crime.
I see what you're saying, Alexa, but parents should pay more attention to their child. The parents should know if the child has a mental health issue, and if they do, they should be protecting their guns so they can't get them and harm people with them. If they have just paid more attention, none of this stuff would have happened.
I see what you're saying, Josh, but another reason is that there is a very easy access to guns. There is a little oversight of safety to make sure that there are no weapons. This is more of a problem with people in politics. It can't be the parent's responsibility to stop something that is not in control of the parent.
That is true, and I agree with you. But also, when I was researching, one of the things that I came across was the Gray trial. And Colin Gray gave his son a rifle, and his son Colt Gray proceeded to shoot up Appalachia High School. He killed 4 people, and those people could have still been alive if his father was more responsible.
Parents should protect their children from weapons. Children cannot commit a violent crime if they do not have a weapon to do it with. If the parent just protected the guns or whatever weapon they may be using, they would not be able to do this stuff. Children shouldn't be trusted with weapons. If you're too young to be able to buy a weapon yourself, you should not be using them or having them without supervision.
That's an interesting thought, Josh, but that's not the parent's job to patrol their child's every move. I see where you're coming from about what you're talking about, but the child could have been getting guns from all sorts of places. They could be getting them before school, during school, after school, and the parent can't know because the parent wouldn't be there to supervise the child.
And also, the parent also might not see that because they might be at work. They can't just get out of work to go check on their child and make sure that they're not holding these illegal weapons.
Right, because the parent physically can't be there and won't know.
All right, but one reason why parents should be responsible is most of the time in these cases, the parents normally ignore obvious warning signs that there's something wrong with their child and they need help, like a mental health issue. And if they just listen to their child's warning signs, then they could get them help, and some of these crimes would not happen.
I hear what you're saying, but the parents, even though they could be watching their child all the time like a hawk, they might not even see these warning signs because the kids are hiding them. The kids could be doing these things at school. They could be, if they're going somewhere somewhere else after school, like a park or something, they could be doing these things. And they could even be pressured to be doing these things, and they just don't want to tell the parents because they're scared. And the parents also have work, like I said, and they can't always see these problems.
As I was saying earlier, parents should pay more attention to their child. They should see as Colin was saying, they should see their mental health issue. If they don't want to talk to their parents at home, they could talk to a guidance counselor at the school. If the child was being pressured into this, they should tell someone so they don't have to do it.
I understand what you're saying, but in my opinion, it really doesn't matter. I know you think that parents should pay more attention to their child, but personally, I don't think that matters. While it may be true that research demonstrates that youths who engage in illegal behavior are more likely to have a parent who are not directly involved in their life or poor parent-child relationships, even if parents try to help the kid from committing a crime, a child can easily not listen and do it anyway. Even if the parent tries to do everything they could in their ability, puts them in whatever they can to help them, and the child still does it, is that really the parent's fault?
And yeah, going on to what Natalie said, my last point, it's not right to put the punishment on the parents. Even poor parents are having to pay thousands of dollar fines because of what these kids are doing. And they might also have to do 160 hours of community service. The parent is getting bigger punishment than the kid, and the kid's only paying a small price, which really isn't fair at all.
Yes, I see what you're saying, but if the parent had just kept their weapons away, the child could not have done a violent crime, and the parents would not have to do the community service or pay the fine.
And adding on to what Josh said, there's a reason that people aren't adults until they turn 18. The parents have responsibility over their children until they are an adult. So they really should take responsibility for what their children do.
And the parents should have noticed poor mental health. If they had just put in more effort to help them fix it, they would not have been paying the fine in the first place.
That's something I had not thought about. Thank you for bringing it up. But another reason is that the child could have been peer pressured by somebody other than their parents. A lot of the things can get in the way of their judgment because their brain is not fully developed. So they could be getting influenced by many people, including students, friends, other family members, adults, and people in the media. That has nothing to do with the parents, and it could be a child's fault for being around people and looking at things that they're not supposed to do. For being around people and looking at things that they're not supposed to do.
And also, while it might not be reasonable that they might be peer pressured to do something big, like take a gun and shoot up a school or something, like Colin said, but they could be pressured to be stealing in a store.
People may not think that little things like Alexa said, like just like stealing from a store, even if it's something little, it's still a crime and it's still a big thing that you should not be doing.
Well, parents need to know who their child is hanging out with, because if they are hanging out with bad people, then their parents really should know that and should stop them from hanging out with people who might have bad influences on them and have them do bad things like stealing from a store.
And as Colin was saying, if they were hanging out with bad people, this could lower their self-esteem and lead to bad mental health.
We can both agree that this is a controversial topic with some strong evidence for both sides. I really see where you guys are coming from, and we'll have to think this over in the future.
Well, we thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time in the next podcast.